Okay, what we're going to do today is I'm going to give you a direct transmission of what I received over the past couple of days, and especially last night. I really can't tell you for sure whether I was asleep or not. I don't know what state you call that, but I rested well, but it seemed like I was conscious all night. And as usual, what I receive, I'm going to transfer to you according to the best of my ability. And I got the picture, and I'll say it without much of an introduction. We're going to try to get into it, but as I was telling Nasik when we talked briefly earlier, that we're going to have to take a quantum leap as it relates to how we approach things from now on. And Nasik laid down the gauntlet when he taught on the and clarified what the mind was in the recent dissertation that he did uh, relative to the creative power of neuromelanin consciousness. And now, see, what is required is that now that we really we have an understanding, and an overstanding of actually of what neuromelanin consciousness is, that dark matter, dark energy. It is now essential and imperative that we make this transition
Absolutely.
from intellect to intuition,
Yeah.
because what is apparent to me, what is very apparent, is that logic and reasoning and rationale and the type of mind that was created as a result of our thorough indoctrination and programming, it will not serve us at all on this journey.
That's exactly what I told Abogado, that whatever they want to call that, it don't work for us.
It does not work for us,
That's right.
and it will not work for us on this journey. Uh, you see up on the screen, I have a name, Noah. We say Noah. We've been trained to say Noah, but this is appropriate because we are beginning our boarding of the ark. I have joked about it in the past, but now see, this is very appropriate
Right.
and it is very accurate. Now you can say ark, or if you know a little more new fashion like I am, you can say mothership. But the boarding of the ark or the mothership has begun. And we're going to see very clearly today that what has served us, or what we have relied upon, it really hasn't served us, Nasi. What we have relied upon in the past will not serve us at all on this journey that we have to make. It's going to be, again, very clear and very apparent. Um, I had requested and sent out a link to this particular video here by Dane Calloway. And I'm not going to uh, go through all of the video. I just want to focus on a small portion. And the entire video, titled The Untold Truth About Who Created the Out of Africa Theory. Again,
Right.
is very appropriate, very apropos, and it is going to underline our the way that we ingest and digest this material on this particular subject is going to make all the difference in the world of how well we complete this journey that we've begun on. This out of Africa theory was the biggest diversion of our attention and intent in history. This began it laid the groundwork for programming. It laid the groundwork for entrainment and indoctrination. The one portion that I wanted you to concentrate on was the aspect of work, and to look at this thing in terms of a historical framework. We all understand that during the captivity, work is all we did. And the objective was to work us to death. We literally worked from sun up
Sun up to sundown.
to sundown. And so family, this aspect of work has been ingrained in us, Nasik, down to the molecules.
Absolutely, Eitai.
So when we began to do as we are going to do today, to conceptualize the Shabbat rest as it relates to work, we're going to have to understand that work and the idea of work has been thoroughly programmed in our minds. So when we look at the historical context that began with all earnest with the captivity and the enslavement experience, and then during that time was introduced to us the Bible. Listen very carefully. And we were trained because we were not allowed to read, we're not allowed to write. Only a select few, listen, only a select few, and they were told a version of the Bible, or were only allowed to preach on those scriptures which featured us as children, dependents, servants, underlings, and workers. And indeed, when we were educated and we were able to read the Bible for ourselves and then had an understanding of the Hebrew, we look at the word avad or abed or abad, which is translated, curiously enough, as worship in the Bible. What did it mean? But to work for, toil for, labor for, or serve as a slave.
Exactly.
So, of course, Nasi, we say, well, yeah, if we have this idea of a creator or a God or a divinity that is separate from ourselves, we say, well, of course, we're supposed to work for God.
Okay.
When we say that, we have not recognized the diversion, the shift, and this constant emphasis on working. You all have to hear me now.
Come
So
on, Eitai.
now see, we had a great understanding of working from a human
Yeah.
standpoint, from a servant's standpoint, from a slave's standpoint, from a worshiper's standpoint, but we had no understanding of the Shabbat, except for what? A day that you what? Cease from working.
Okay.
We must understand how perverted that is, and how within the context of our own personal history, how distorted an idea that we have of Shabbat. And now see, it really don't matter if it's on a Sunday or a Saturday. The idea is the same.
I see.
Okay.
Succoth.
Are you all with me?
Listen, I'm gonna be a
Okay.
So we have been limited or restricted in our understanding of a Shabbat rest as being what? A yom or a day. And I'm telling you, this is a profound distortion and a diversion, a diversionary tactic that has been well executed.
well executed.
Well executed. Now, see, it got us all.
Oh,
Okay.
absolutely.
Got
Absolutely.
us all. And listen, even our leaders.
Oh,
Okay.
absolutely.
Now, hey, you can fill in the blank however you want to, but I'm telling you, I'm making a definitive statement. We have been deceived.
and Satan deceives the whole
The
world.
whole
The
world.
whole world.
That's you too. And me, not just me. So, family, we have to see this. And this thing has been laid out for me, like I said, last night. Now, I woke up at one point and my Isha was up and I explained this to her, what was happening. And at that point, now see, I couldn't remember it, exactly what it was, but after I woke this morning, it all came back, and this is what this teaching is about. So I want to begin here with this video, and if you haven't watched it in its entirety, I really recommend that you watch it in its entirety. But I'm going to play a small portion that relates directly to what we've been talking about here. And here it is.
I mean, it's really important for us to remember our history. unless you're one of the first Americans, you came from someplace else. Somebody brought you.
Now, this is very important, family. This is very, very important. And this relates directly to us. This is Barack Obama. Say what you want to about him, but each of our leaders, when they got into a certain position, the ancestors overshadowed them and
Okay.
and caused them to make a statement that was intended for you to pause, for you to rest and consider. But now see, we couldn't hear it.
No. Had eyes and couldn't see, and ears and couldn't hear.
That's right.
Okay.
So it's time now to hear this. Hear this. We've given you examples of James Baldwin talking about that we are the individuals in the West were here already. Martin Luther King Jr. said it. A number of other leaders. When Malcolm X began to talk about the original and indigenous people, he did not last too long after that. They took him out of the way. Same way with Martin Luther King Jr. When he made the statement, everybody points to, when he was saying, I'm not afraid of any man. But what he was saying, he said that we were here before anyone. And here Barack Obama is making the same statement. We must pay attention. We must rest, pause, take a deep breath, and consider.
That probably is me, absolutely. Because I'll tell you what, if you look.
Here's another president, the current president, before he became president, speaking on the same subject, overshadowed by our ancestors, and making the same statement to us.
Look at some of the reservations that you've approved, you, sir, in your great wisdom have approved. I will tell you right now, they don't look like Indians to me.
He said, they don't look like Indians to me.
They don't look like the Indians. Now, maybe we say politically correct or not politically correct. They don't look like Indians to me, and they don't look like Indians to Indians. And a lot of people are laughing at it, and you're telling how tough it is, how rough it is to get approved. When you go up to Connecticut, and you look, now, they don't look like Indians to me, sir.
You don't have to live in the slums to care, Melanie. You don't have to try to be something you're not. God, I can't stand this. Trying to be something I'm not? Trying to be proud of my African heritage?
We all swallowed it, hook, line, and sinker. We all swallowed it.
That's being something I'm not, then fine. That's being something I'm not, then fine. I'd rather be dead than be like you. Stuck-up nigger who's ashamed of being black. My grandmother.
Too much going. We can't understand what is being said.
Full-blooded Iroquois. Was a full-blooded Iroquois. I know all of that, Mama. They don't know this. I am alive because of the blood of the people who never screamed or begged or apologized for what they were. They asked only one thing. be allowed to be. And I learned through the blood of this people that black isn't beautiful. It isn't ugly. It isn't kinky hair. It isn't straight hair. Black is just black. It broke my heart when you changed your name.
She said, it broke my heart when you changed your name.
I gave you my grandmother's name, a woman who bore 9 children, educated them all, who held off 6 white men with a shotgun when they took their back and let them go to jail for not knowing his place. And you had to reach into an African dictionary to find a name that would make you proud.
Okay, everyone. Now, as I've stated numerous times before, I am well aware that many of you were taught to believe line after line in today's society of America concerning this topic and various types of correlating information by design. But I would like for you to note that the actual quality of your life is based on the quality of the questions you ask.
Stop it right there. The actual quality of your life is based on the quality of questions that you ask. Very important. How many of us asked into the Shabbat when we were taught it? How many of us studied? How many of us researched in terms of finding out or inquiring as to whether what we were handed, that's what tradition means, to put something in the hand. How many examined what was placed within our hands?
Nobody.
No one. We
was glad, Eitai, we was glad, our parents was glad to have to not to work
That's
on
correct.
Sunday. It
That's
wasn't Saturday,
correct.
it was on Sunday.
We didn't care
You
what
know.
you called it.
Man, we just wanted to rest.
We just wanted to rest one day. So we must understand the framework within which we all were programmed in. And we must understand the program, the nature of the programming. When you watch the rest of that video, I mean, he does an excellent job in starting you from A and showing you in graphic detail that this idea of out of Africa began as a fiction. It began as a fictional work and was what? Absorbed into the educational system and taught as what? Fact.
Yes.
But we're going to find out that this is the most innovating and destructive point of view or perspective or perception can have of themselves, especially us. And again, it was deliberately done to prolong a dominion. And we are still suffering and hindered and restricted under the effects of that programming. So this is our opportunity to rectify that so that we might run this race with confidence and conviction. When we look at the word Noah, it means rest. And now see, it is the story of Noah. The story of Noah is directly related to the Shabbat, rest. Directly related to the Shabbat rest. And the Shabbat rest, family, is directly related to us finding out who and what we really are. Now see, this should be a relatively small next step for individuals that have been running at the required rate and pace,
Right.
that have familiarized themselves with the prophetic framework and the elements and the major elements of that prophetic framework. The most central element of the framework that we must have in our possession is the difference between the emanation of a divine being versus the creation of a human being. This is critical. So when I ask us to consider whether we were a divine being merely having a human experience or a human being attempting to be divine, the position that you take and that you occupy is going to be directly related to how successful you will negotiate this path or this next portion of this path, how well or not well you walk the path, how successful or unsuccessfully you walk this next portion of the path. And again, it's not like we have not been prepared. Now, seek in everything that he did within, in terms of the intermittent diet, that he has allowed us he's prepared a road for us to walk on, a track for us to run on. So it's not like there's nothing that has been prepared for us. It has been. And if we have really taken the time to meditate on the things that he's been saying, and this bit of road that has been prepared and repaired and prepared for us, it should be easy. It should be easy to make this transition, but it is a critical next step. So Noach, the name means rest, and the entire narrative framework of the allegory of Noach and his three sons is very, very important. And we're going to break it down. Noach was the son of Lamech, which means powerful. All right? We'll get back to that later. And he was the father of Japhet, Shem, and Ham, or Chem. Now, usually you'll see this they'll say those names out of order. They'll say Japheth, Ham, and Shem. And this is again a deliberate, or they'll say Shem, Ham, and Japheth. This is a literally an attempt to keep you from the path that our ancestors laid out. But we're going to correct that again, because Japhet was the oldest. So we say the Yud, Japhet, first. Shem was the middle son. This is very important. So we say the Sheen secondly. And Ham, or Chem, was the third son. So we position the Chet in the final position. This is the roadmap that our ancestors left us, so that now see we can find our way back to ourselves. They understood that some funny business would take place. And they left us a reliable roadmap. Lamech, the son of Methusael, was of the race of Cain, people, not Abel. Did we teach on this, Nasi?
Wow.
Hevel meant what?
Yeah.
Vanity.
Right. I got it all laid out, Eitai, already.
Nasi, what did I tell you, Nasi?
Wow.
Earlier. Did I not tell you that? I told you in the introduction, you would say just what you said.
Wow. Wow.
He was of the race of Cain, of the lineage of Cain. Who what? Slew Abel. Known for having misused the arms which his sons had invented. Now, if you all go back to Black Panther, the Eric Stevens character, in no way with the current programming and mindset would you identify yourself with the Killmonger character. Why? Because he was a killer. He wanted to use the arms that the Black Panther and them, that Wakanda had invented to do what? Liberate his people. And in the same way, you would never think to what? Identify the lineage of Cain as the one that you came through. Tell me I'm wrong.
No, you're
right.
So this programming, it highlights, Nasi, this programming, this indoctrination, this entrainment. This thing springs from the lineage of Cain, not Abel. Because everybody from Abel's lineage was what? According to the allegory, destroyed, like him, destroyed in the flood. Am I correct or am I not?
Yeah.
Moving on. Genesis 4 talking about Lamech. And Lamech took unto him 2 wives. The name of the one was Adah, and the name of the other Zillah. And Adah bare Yabal, and he was the father of such as what?
Dwell
in tents. And of such as have cattle. Very important that we get this. And his brother's name was Jubal. He was the father of all such as handle the harp and the organ. Very important, but we'll come back to that much later. And Zillah, she also bare Tubal-Cain, an instructor and artificer of brass and iron, in other words, weaponry.
Right, right.
And the sister of Tubal-Cain was Naamah. And Lamech said unto his wives, listen, this is one of your ancestors, Adah and Zillah, hear my voice, ye wives of Lamech, hearken unto my speech, for I have slain a man
Oh no.
to my wounding, and a young man to my hurt.
Wow.
And Cain, if Cain shall be avenged sevenfold, the number 7, truly Lamech 70 and 7.
7 and 7.
We got to follow
Wow.
the roadmap. I know we don't want to go in this direction of killers and death, but it's teaching us something. Can't ignore it, Nasi.
Wow. Man, this here been read so many times. I remember when I first came into the community, I don't know nothing. And I approached Abba Gadol about this very thing right here. He didn't respond to it. He gave it to Sayyid Akeem for Sayyid Akeem to talk to me about it.
Right.
And Sayyid Akeem, he didn't, he did what he knew. He knew more than I knew.
Hey, and it could be said for all of us, Nasi, just like I said, fill in the blank. Our leaders did not know this.
Boy.
Now, Noah was the builder of the ark. This is what I'm saying. This is what we're doing, family, which saved his family from the destruction of the world, which God sent on the world by the flood. Water. Remember, this is how we started this out. Water first, but what? Fire next time.
Right.
He became the new seminal head. The new seminal head. Now they say of mankind. Because his family were the only survivals of the flood. Tracing the etymology of his name, the name Noach is from the word nuach, H5118, meaning quiet, resting, or a resting place. A resting place. Directly related, family, to the Shabbat. So I'll ask a question. If we didn't know this prior to now, how is it that we can have a correct understanding of the Shabbat?
Absolutely no way.
It's impossible. Nuach.
Oops. Question.
Yes.
Just getting in. Which Genesis chapter is this? Genesis 4 and what?
Just Genesis 4:19 through 24. We just went over.
Thank you. Thank you.
Anytime. No problem. So again, if we all were what? Were identifying with not Cain, but with Abel.
Absolutely identify with Abel.
So
Anytime I kept asking myself, if Abel is supposed to be the younger son, and the younger son was supposed to be blessed, how is it that throughout the scripture we see that it wasn't the younger son, it was the older son, which is Europe? If you look at Africa, Africa is the oldest son. Europe would be a younger country. But what? Europe is the one that's what? Got all of everything. How could that be?
now see, we're gonna see where we fell for the juke move now. We failed, we got pump fake.
Wow.
and we went for it. So, but again, it was the current perception. In fact, this was there all the time now, see?
Oh yeah, it's been there all the time, right?
But it was the current perception.
That's what it was.
The programmed mind, the entrained mind that would not allow us to see it.
Couldn't see it with that mind.
Would not allow our leaders to see it.
Nobody.
So the quicker, you know, the quicker we take that hit and just admit it, the quicker we can adjust and correct this. Because this is required at this point, family.
Wow.
So again, even down to the root, this is an allusion to the Shabbat rest. Nuach, to rest, to settle down, to withdraw, to cease. Are you all with me? To lay or let down, to rest, set down. See, this out of Africa is out of the east. But again, I keep emphasizing, where does the sun set down? In the east or the west?
Set in the west.
That's in the west. Now, see, if you're going to do a proper word study and etymological search and cognitive search in the or search of the cognates in the scripture, you cannot get away from this because it is consistent everywhere you look. So when we look further at this root word nuach, I'm going to enlarge this so everybody can see it, because it is critical and very much related to what it is that where it is that we're going to go as we continue on. So this word nuach, you all see it there, means to rest, to sit down, to set oneself down. Don't nobody have to tell you when you're through or when you're finished or when you're tired, right?
Nope.
You're going to sit down on your own.
Absolutely.
Now look, the original idea, I'm going to say that again, the original idea lies in respiring, drawing breath. To draw breath. Oh man, I'm tired. Let me catch my breath. All right, y'all look tired. Y'all take a breath. Sit down there and take a breath. Meditate on that, family. We getting ready to go to the next step. These things are self-evident, but not self-evident, family, to someone that is using their mind to walk this path. These things are very simple.
Your speech is not coming through very clear for some reason. I don't know.
Okay. Is that better?
Speak again.
Is that better?
Yeah, that's a little better. Uh-huh.
Okay, I'm seeing that we have still several microphones open from callers. And again, if you could mute your phones on that end, it will help the sound quality a lot better. Because when the mics are open, it's dispersing the sound.
Picking up real bad.
Okay, I'm going to mute. How is that now? See? Better?
Well, it's still breaking up, but I'm clear what's happening.
Okay. Well, I've muted the microphone, so hopefully we get a better sound quality. It might just be something else interfering in it.
First of all, Eitai, ask everybody else how they hearing you.
Is everyone hearing me? Let me ask Nazar. How is it coming through, Nazar? Is it breaking up on your end?
No, it's coming through real clear on my end.
Okay. So Nasik, it might be the delay somehow based on the how the signal is coming in across the water. And
I'm gonna shut down and come back on and see what happens.
Okay, I'm gonna put it on pause, Nasik, right here, and when you get back on, we'll continue. All right. Okay. So as we saw, this word nuach that is connected to the word Noach, which is one of the patriarchs, according to the allegory, is related to inhaling and exhaling. Now, I wanted Malkiel to be here because he introduced this word Ubuntu to us. Ubuntu. And not only that, took this word Ubuntu, meaning wholeness, in an African dialect. I got to ask him. I hate to just say African because, that's not specific. But it is related to the word wholeness, the term complete wholeness. I am because you are, or you are because I am. That type of thought or connotation of interconnectedness. All right. And there was a website that is called Ubuntu Theory. And it is related directly to the Shabbat, the 7 days, and this word Noach, or the 7 Yom, Yamot or Yomim. And the title of the article was 7 Breaths. And when I saw that the word Noach or nuach was related to the breath. Then I just Googled 7 breaths, and this is what came up. And I titled this particular section, The 7 Breaths of the Creator. The 7 breaths of the Creator. Whenever you rest, you take a breath or breathe. And breathing involves what? Inhaling and exhaling. 2 opposite things. Inhaling and exhaling. And indeed, when we talk about the universe or the cosmos, scientists have noticed these 2 different actions or dynamics in the expansion of the universe as well as the contraction of the universe. Quoting from the website, I aspire to exemplify the philosophy of Ubuntu and understand the importance of interconnectedness. And this is what we must keep in the forefront of our minds. We must keep the aspect of duality within the forefront of our mind, because we are not going to, we understand wholeness, but wholeness does not mean what? Eliminating or omitting an aspect of the polarities or dualism that you particularly don't like or are not attracted to. I'm going to say that again. Interconnectedness, I'll say it in a different way. Nasi means light and dark, cold and hot, inhaling and exhaling, life and death.
Mm-hmm.
That is Ubuntu, life and death, exertion and rest. We must begin to understand this from a divine standpoint. We have been trained as servants, workers, laborers, slaves.
Completely broke up, Eitai. I can't hear you.
I'm sorry. We have been trained as servants, slaves, laborers, workers, toilers, tillers. That is not us. I'll give you a hint. Cain was a tiller of the land, right?
You broke up completely. I ain't heard nothing for the last 2 minutes.
All right. Has anybody else not heard anything? Nazar, have you been?
I heard everything.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah, Nasik, it seems to be on your side. And again,
I understand. I understand why.
I know, but we'll get through it, Nasik. And Nasik, like you said, you and I have to talk.
Right. Yeah. So
talk anyway. So
just go ahead. I'll bear with it.
I'm gonna lay it down for the family. So no, I'm clear.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm clear as to what's happening.
All right. Mm-hmm.
I aspire to exemplify the philosophy of Ubuntu and understand the importance of interconnectedness, the importance of duality within the created physical realms. This has greatly affected my life and my ability to serve others and make quick, educated decisions, generally within the space of 7 breaths. We must be of quick understanding and do our work within the prescribed time period. If you don't hear me now, you'll hear me later on that. Ubuntu theory, philosophies on justice, equality, and humanity. In the Hagakure, the book of the samurai, now the samurai are warriors. Are you hearing me? The samurai are warriors. Family, in the book of the samurai, there is a virtue that states, in the words of the ancients, the ancestors, one should make his decisions within the space of 7 breaths. Seven Noachs, 7 Nuachs. Noach represented a new beginning. Am I correct? After one thing was destroyed, Noach represented a new beginning that has to do with a new breath, inhaling a new breath. And a breath, family, write down breath, new breath, word, new word. A new beginning requires a new breath or a new word. The 7 breaths of the Creator. In the words of the ancients, one should make his decisions within the space of 7 breaths. Lord Takandobu said, if discrimination is long, it will spoil. The children of Israel were told to gather the manna, correct? They were to gather for 5 days, just enough that their family could use. Nothing over. On the 6th day, they were told to gather twice as much as they gathered the previous 5 days, whether they gathered a little for their family or whether they gathered much for their family. Notwithstanding, they hearkened not unto Moses, but some of them left of it till the morning, and it bred worms and stank, meaning that it spoiled. If discrimination is long, it will spoil. You must understand that this ain't talking about no day. It's not talking about you working or not working like that, like we've been programmed to believe. You have to leave those notions behind if you're going forward. Lord Naoshigi said, When matters are done leisurely, 7 out of 10 will turn out badly. A warrior is a person who does things quickly. We have to be of a quick understanding. Anyone that has ever played sports or ever been involved in combative sports understands this saying: study long, study wrong. How many people have heard that? Amaria?
Yes, I've heard it
Kang?
often.
Amaria, you know, you've been trained in martial arts, correct? And you know that once you see your opening, don't think about it. If you think about it, that window will open and close. You must just react based on what you know. Trust that intuitive knowledge.
It's
Not think
instinct.
about it.
Yep.
It must be instinctual. So we must move from the intellectual knowledge, step 1, step 2, step 3, and get into the essence of things. The one thing I know about elite athletes, and when me and my brother, when we train individuals, or when we trained our sons, the one thing that we were looking for was what we knew would require them to be on the same level that we were. And that is, they can see things before they actually develop. That is intuition. That is not intellect. You cannot teach someone to be an elite athlete. You can teach them the habits and the preparation that elite athletes do. But when I teach boxing or self-defense or basketball, what I look for, family, is that intangible quality that these individuals can move quickly. They're never in a hurry. They never rush, but they're always on time. You can see it in a 4-year-old, a 3-year-old. When individuals start to play like that, you can see. I saw it in my sons, and some of my son rather, and my nephew, and even my nieces. And they all became outstanding athletes and warriors. They did not take time to think and cogitate and calculate. They responded, and they were usually right. 90% of the time, they were correct. Are you all with me? We must move from intellect to intuition and instinct, and connect with those things that are inherent in all of us. This is what the Shabbat is talking about on a particular level. We heard in the film, Dane Calloway, the film clip that we listened to, Dane Calloway stated that the actual quality of your life is based on the quality of the questions you ask. This is directly related to the story of the Shabbat and the manna or manna. The story in Exodus 16. If anybody wants to turn to that in their Bibles, this is where we're going to be. Exodus 16, beginning at verse 4 and 5. And then we're going to take a look at skip down to verses 14 through 31. Exodus 16, verses 4 and 5. Then skip down to verse 14 through 30, verses 14 through 31. The quality of life is based on the quality of questions you ask. The Shabbat manna, that is, the Shabbat manna. Manna means what is it? It is a question, family, that we never asked. This our ancestors are messing with us. Manna. Nobody asked manna. What is it? The word translated manna is actually the word mon. Mon. It literally refers to the whatness of something. When we say, and it's related to the word ma, the root word ma, we say mashlom ka or mashlom mek. We are asking a question. And all of the questions in Hebrew are preceded by the word ma, referring to the word manna. But again, we have never, concerning the Shabbat, we just accepted it. We never asked manna, what is it? And this allegorical story that our ancestors laid out for us sets the framework that will allow us to have a proper understanding, overstanding, and understanding of the prophetic Shabbat as it relates to right now. Not what we've done in the past, not what will be in the future, but right now. Exodus 16, verses 4 and 5. Then said the Lord unto Moses, behold, I will rain bread from heaven for you. We're going to talk about this bread of heaven when we get into the allegory of Jesus. And it's going to, family, fit right into the framework that we are establishing here. Actually, we're fitting this into the prophetic framework and sequence of events that we've already established. But again, when we go to the so-called New Testament and talk about the bread of heaven as it relates to Jesus or Yeshua, it will follow right along with this, with the pattern that we're establishing now. Will fit perfectly within that framework. And the people shall go out and gather a certain rate every day. I've been telling you that we must move at our own pace and at our own particular race, at our own particular pace and rate, but we must be moving consistently in terms of our understanding, in terms of our applying this particular knowledge. They will go out and gather a certain rate every day, that I may prove them. This is a test. whether they will walk in my law or no. And I see he said the law always has to do with what? Wholeness, singularity. And it shall come to pass, verse 5, that on the 6th day they shall prepare that which they bring in, and it shall be twice as much as they gather daily. Twice as much. And I'll give you a hint why they had to gather twice as much. Because it wasn't going to rain on the 7th day. No bread from heaven. It wouldn't be no work to do. Y'all got to allow that to sink in. There is going to come a time, family, whether you think you're a human or you think you're a divine being, where there's going to be no more work for you to do. You're going to be forced to rest. Whether you agree with what it is that's being presented or not. Whether you follow and buy into this law or not. Y'all got to hear me now. And when the dew that lay was gone up, behold, upon the face of the wilderness, there lay a small round thing. There lay a small round thing, as small as the hoarfrost on the ground. And when the children of Israel saw it, they said to one another, it says it is manna, but they're saying, manna, what is it? For they wist not what it was. None of them. So why are you asking somebody, as it relates to the Shabbat, that they know as much as you know? They have as much insight on it that you have during that period. Why are you asking somebody else that don't know about the Shabbat or about the manna? Don't make no sense, does it? And Moses said to him, this is the bread which the Lord hath given thee to eat. And if you all recall the story, they complained about that. This is the thing which the Lord hath commanded. Verse 16. Gather of it every man according to his eating, an omer for every man according to the number of persons. Take ye every man from them which are where? In his tents. This related to tent dwellers, family. See, we got to talk about Shavuot too and what that meant. Temporary dwellings, family. Isn't that what a Shavuot is? Or I'm sorry, not Shavuot, but Succoth. Isn't that what a sukkah is? A temporary dwelling? They were in tents, living in tents when they got these instructions. And the children of Israel did so, gathered, some more and some less. And when they did meet it with an omer, meaning gather it or measure it out with an omer, he that gathered much had nothing over, and he that gathereth little had no lack. They gathered every man according to his eating. Now, Hebrew scholars, omer, what does that mean? Anybody know? Omer. Anyone? All right, we'll put a pin in that for now and get back to it.
Is an omer a bundle of wheat or some sort of something from a garden? An omer is a bundle of wheat.
We'll come back to that. All right.
Okay.
Yeah, it is a measure, but it has another meaning and another application. We'll come back to it. You know, especially in the Hebrew Israelite culture. And Moses said, "Let no man leave it until the morning." You must gather and answer within what? 7 breaths. One should make his decisions within a space of 7 breaths. Let no man leave of it until the morning. Notwithstanding, they hearkened not unto Moses, but some of them left it until the morning, and it bred worms and stank. This is an object lesson for us. Will be made very clear as we continue on. And Moses was wroth with them, and they gathered it every morning, every man according to his eating. When the sun waxed hot, it melted. Sun rises in the east, sets in the west. When it's right in the middle is when it's the hottest, when it's the highest in the sky, correct? So that's when the manna melts. It is no more during that day. No matter if it's the first day or the 6th day. And it came to pass that on the 6th day, they gathered twice as much bread, 2 omers or omers for one man. And all the rulers of the congregation came and told Moses. And he said unto him, This is which the Lord hath said, tomorrow is a holy Sabbath unto the Lord. Bake that which ye will bake today, and seethe what ye shall seethe, and that which remaineth over lay up for you to be kept in the morning. Now, this is how we have all traditionally kept the Shabbat. That's not correct. And they laid it up until morning, as Moses bade, and it did not stink, neither was there any worm therein. Neither was there any worm therein. And Moses said, Eat that today, for today is the Sabbath unto the Lord. Today ye shall not find it in the field. So again, after the noon sun had burnt it and melted it, you didn't find it in that day. And on the seventh day, you didn't find it in the field. Y'all hearing me? 6 days ye shall gather it. But on the seventh day, which is the Shabbat, in it there shall be none. So you can't work, even if you wanted to. We got to meditate on this, family, because we're going to come again to Jesus, Yeshua, that is talking about this, and again, in the allegorical sense, which it should not have been taken literally, but we took it literally. As what? To a particular day. But Yeshua said, I must do the work of him who sent me while it is day, because the night comes when no man can work. Are you a man or a woman trying to achieve the divine, or are you a divine being primarily, first, essentially, in reality, that emanated in these realms and are having a human experience? Very important question. And your comprehension of the prophetic Shabbat will be directly related to where your point of view or vantage point or perception is. And it came to pass that there went out some of the people on the seventh day to gather. What do y'all think happened? They couldn't work. They found none. And the Lord said to Moses, how long refuse ye to keep my commandments and my laws? See, for that the Lord hath given you a Sabbath. Therefore he giveth you on the sixth day the bread of 2 days. Abide ye every man in his place. Let no one go out of his place on the seventh day. So the people rested on the seventh day. And the house of Israel called the name thereof manna. You know why? Because they still didn't understand what it is that they were being shown. And they never asked, up until this day, a quality question. They ask it of each other, but they never ask it of what? Their higher self. And it was like a coriander seed, white, and the taste of it was like wafers made of honey. The taste of it was like wafers made of honey. And as we get further along, family, in the study, you all will be familiar with this saying. And it tasted sweet in my mouth, like it was honey. Anybody recall that? Remember reading that?
Eitai.
Uh-huh.
Of course, we recall that in the book of Ezekiel.
That's right. That's right. And in the book of Revelations, because this relates to something, it relates to now. Now, see,
Absolutely.
It relates to now. It didn't relate to the people then. They had to
Wow.
be put to sleep. While what? This corrective alchemical process, they underwent this corrective alchemical process to what? Correct the flaw. See, if you don't have that framework, you're just going to be in a state of confusion still. And you will not be able to syncretize polarities and duality and opposites and make them into one thing. In other words, accomplish the miracle of one thing. The other thing, you're being presented with the basis of a paradox, and you will not be able to solve the paradox moving forward. So again, they try to put the names out of order. It's supposed to be the oldest, Yafet, then the youngest, Shem, then the middle son, Shem, then the youngest, Chem. And when you do it this way, Yud, let's go, Yud, Shin, Chet, you come up with what the ancestors were trying to make you know. Now, when we look, now this relates to out of Africa, right? When we look at the division, the ancient division of territories, Shem is not connected to Africa at all. He is connected to Asia family or Asaya. Asaya, the earth realm or the area of Malkuth, the earth kingdom or the earth realm. In the four, now see, you recall, in the four divisions,
Right.
or the four realms, the Yud, He, Vav, He, Yud is fire,
Right.
He is water, Vav is air, and what is the other He?
Earth.
It is earth connected to
Right.
Asaya. They are giving us a pattern, a key, a codex to identify ourselves. And the one that is going to be left in the final realm of Asaya is going to be Shem. And Shem is a remnant of what? Noah. Noach. Indicating the people that will what? First enter into the rest, the Shabbat. So if you're here, family, and you can comprehend that, you know who you are. So,
Eitai, can you say that again?
all right. When we look at an ancient seal that was that showed the original division in terms of landmass of the three tribes or the three sons of Noah, Shem was designated to Africa, that continent and those
Right.
lands. Yafet to Europe,
Right.
and Shem to Asia or Asaya. So again, if you can comprehend the language that we're speaking, the holistic language that we're speaking, on this call, you've identified yourself as being of this category or lineage of Shem, those people, now see, that cross over first,
Right.
transition first, that make the
Right.
transition first, and enter in first.
Eitai, you know, what they also go on to say that all prophetic revelations come through Shem.
There you go.
Right.
This is how we can do this right now, family. Because this is us. So again, we're going to someone have a question. So it just reminded me of something, family, and allow me to bear with me, because I just thought of a scripture that was Hebrews, the 4th chapter. Y'all got to see this. Hebrews, the 4th chapter. Now see, we already said that we're related to what? Asaya.
Right.
Which is what? The 4th letter corresponds to the 4th letter and the 4th realm of the Tetragrammaton.
Right.
See, this is the power of the name, family. And so in Hebrews, Eber was a what? Son of Shem. Those
Right.
individuals that cross over first. Let us therefore fear lest a promise being left us of entering into his rest, any of you should seem to come short of it. Y'all can't hear the scripture speaking to you. This is the ancestor speaking to you. For unto us, now see, this is just what you were saying. Not unto everybody, but unto us
Right.
was the gospel preached, as well as unto them. But the word preached did not profit them, not being mixed with faith in them that heard it. For we which have believed do enter into rest right now. As he said, as I have sworn in my wrath, if they shall enter into my rest. Listen, family. Although the works were finished from the foundation of the world.
Oh.
Now, see, it can't be no day. Impossible.
Can't be a day, Eitai.
Impossible. Impossible.
That's absolutely impossible.
For he spake in a certain place of the 7th day on this wise: divine beings and God, divine beings, did rest the 7th day from all his works. Question is, when you gonna stop working? That's the question. God, gods, goddesses.
Go ahead, Eitai.
And in this place again, if they shall enter into my rest. Seeing therefore it remaineth that some must enter therein, and they to whom it was first preached entered not because of unbelief. Again, he limiteth a certain day, saying in David, today, after so long a time, as it is said, today, if ye will hear his voice, harden not your hearts. Furthermore, now see, for if Jesus had given them rest, then would he not afterward have spoken of another day? There remaineth therefore a rest to the people of God. For he that is entered into his rest, he also hath what? Ceased from his own works, as God did from his. Y'all got to hear that. Does it make sense now? See,
absolutely, absolutely.
Impossible to be talking about a day. So this word Yud Shin Ket, representing what? Yafet, Shem, and Ham, relates to a word in Indian. Now, why am I saying Indian? Because these are the areas that we inhabited. If you're going to believe the allegory, these are the lands of Shem, not Africa, not Europe.
Wow.
It is the ones in red or pink. Very appropriate.
Now, Eitai, you know, when I was in the school of the prophets under Abba Shalig, this is exactly what he called it, Far East Africa.
That's correct.
India was where we were. He said we were there, and many, you know, we left our seed there intermingling with various tribes and whatever. He kind of glossed over it. He didn't, you know what I'm saying? But I remember that, and to this day.
So in the West, they were called East Indians. What are they called in the West?
Right, East Indians, right.
The original indigenous people. See, we're going to put this together. This is just the introduction, family. But we got to lay the groundwork. Yashakti, Yashak, Yud, Shin, Chet. You all see it. Makes one popular, renowned, famous. What does Shem mean? Now listen.
Wow.
Listen. Jainism, traditionally known as Jan or Ya'ain, Dharma, is an ancient Indian religion. Followers of Jainism are called Yains or Yan or Yains, however they want to say it. A word derived from the Sanskrit Jina or Yina, meaning victor. Listen to this, y'all, because this is going to fit into everything that we've been saying, and connoting the path of victory in crossing over. I'm going to stop there. Shem, son, is Eber. Eber means what? Crossing over life streams. That now, once we get into this, now see, finding Eber, I done already said it. Because Eber was the one that was always crossing over.
Always crossing over.
Always crossing over, and crossed over into what we call the America. He was always crossing over water. One from the other side. The region on the other side. So if we were Indians in the east, what are we on the other side? Indians from the Indus Valley, from that area. Very important that we get this, family. Very important that we get this. And again, we have laid the groundwork for this already, right there. According to Abu Isa, Eber, the great grandson of Shem, refused to help with the building of the Tower of Babel. So his language was not confused when it was abandoned. This is why we can make the connection between the with the Yud Shin Chet with the word Yashik Yashak. I'm sorry, with the word Yakshakti, meaning renowned and famous, and related to those crossing over life streams of what? Rebirths through an ethical and spiritual life. That is exhaling, inhaling, and exhaling. Life and death. Rebirth into new worlds, into new times, into new yomes. And we understood that in the land of Shinar here, where we get the story in the 11th chapter, actually the 10th and the 11th chapter of Genesis, that Eber, according to tradition and legend, didn't help in the building and the establishment of the Tower of Babel, left Nasi and crossed over.
Right.
He crossed over the river and then dwelt where? In these lands that were designated. This is what our forefathers left us, family. Not out of Africa. We'll never be able to make that correct energetic connection, family. Impossible. Impossible. So, moving on. Does everyone have it so far? 7 breaths, not 7 days. Any questions or comments? And we're going to get to the last part of this. I don't want to give us too much because it's a lot. It's a lot. And it's just proof after proof after proof after proof in different places in history and especially within the scripture. So we all on the same page, or is there any questions?
No questions or comment, but somebody got a question, let them go ahead first with the question.
Okay, go ahead. Anyone? All right. I guess it's safe to go on, but go ahead, Nasi.
What I was going to say, they always talk about a remnant, okay? And no one ever identified this remnant because when I listen to what we've gone over today and where I know, all of them had come out of the captivity following the idea of Hebrewism as they know it, it's almost impossible for one of them that's in that pursuit to hear this and, go in this direction. So when you're really talking about a remnant, you're talking about a very small few.
That's
I mean, you're
correct.
talking
Absolutely.
And not,
very small.
I mean, you talked about this so thoroughly in terms of this cognitive dissonance.
Right.
And, you know, if you're going to use cognitive reasoning, it's no way. You must be able to cross over. You must be able to make this transition at this particular time from intellect to intuition. In other words, it you know it's not just problematic. It is like Nasik said, it is impossible. It is impossible to continue on the path as it's laid out. Impossible, Nasik.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
Dang.
can't even mistakenly wind up at this point. So, uh, moving on, um, singularity carries God's name in Arabic, and the power of the name is going to be so important as we, you know, and again, it's not a name like that. It is actually like a codex. Yud Hey Vav Hey. Fire, water, air, earth. And if it does not follow, does not fit into that particular pattern, and if it cannot be decoded or syncretized to that name, that process, then it doesn't belong in there. It doesn't fit in because this is a codex. It's not about a name that religious folks say, whether they say it right or they put the vowel points here. All that stuff, Nasik, is diversionary.
Eitai,
Yes.
at the end, I want to, when we close out, I want to explain what came to me in respect to what you just said about what the name really represents.
Represents.
And
Correct.
you use the name, when you close out, just remind me, okay, so I can say it, share with the family.
Absolutely. And if I forget, somebody else remind me to remind Nasik.
I'll remind you to remind Nasik.
All right. 3 heads is better than 1. Good. So this whole idea of singularity, no matter what we're talking about, if we're talking about the name, if we're talking about a son, if we're talking about a patriarch, if we're talking about a particular event, the Shabbat, it must what? Conform to this law of singularity. If not, like the scripture says, there's no light in them. In other words, that they're not speaking on the basis of intelligence. They're not speaking on the basis of revealed divine knowledge in terms of what was hidden being revealed and uncovered. This is what the book of the Revelation is all about.
Dang.
So we're going to start again. We're going to look at the name, but we must begin with the star, understanding the star, because when we talk about this word Shem or this word renowned in that Yud Hey, I'm sorry, in that Yud Shin, in the Yud Shin Chet configuration, we must make this transition to a star because again, It says in Ecclesiastes 7:1, and this is going to give us the setting for what it is that we're going to talk about. A good name, meaning shame or shem, is better than precious ointment. Shemin. All of these things are going to make sense to us because this is what our ancestors carefully and brilliantly put together for us. A good name, shem or shame, is better than precious ointment. Shemin. Now, see, you talked about that shemin. And the day of death, I'm going to read this again, and the day of death than the day of one's birth. This is coded language, family, but we've been given a false understanding of death, and along with that, a fear of death. This word shame, sheen mem, and its different variations are going to follow us throughout this whole journey that we're on. And it means fame, or it conveys the idea, the notion of definite and conspicuous position, meaning renown or famous, or as we say, a star. It refers to a celebrity or a star. All right? So let's go back and look at how stars function and act. Stars will eventually die. It's just a fact, family. They will either directly collapse on themselves and become black holes, or their remnants will merge with other stars that will eventually become black holes. Now, I want you all to focus on what the remnants do. Shemites, they are always going to bring things back to their beginning and back to their source. Even if the stars Nasi explode and the remnants are scattered, they will always merge with other stars and eventually cause them to become black holes. This is who you are. This is the energy that you represent, that you essentially are. So we look at this diagram of a black hole and seeing a star collapsing on itself and then what? Reaching singularity. But family, that's not the end of the story. Because once that star collapses and reaches singularity, then it emerges as a new beginning. The death of the star is the Shabbat rest. But family, there were 7 Shabbats, or 7 Yom, meaning 7 Shamayim. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. You got to hear me on this. Wasn't 7 days. It was 7 universes created. We currently occupy one of those universes. Uni means one. We are multi-dimensional, cosmic beings. Multi-dimensional, cosmic beings. When I talk about how a star was created, it directly relates to, from a cosmic point of view, from a divine point of view and perspective and vantage points, how these seven heavens, seven Shemayim, were created. How a stellar black hole is created. This is the process. A common type of black hole is the type produced by dying stars. A star with a mass greater than, and now see, I'm sure this term dying, this word dying, is a misnomer. The star, it's something that is eternal and that is involved in eternal cycles, never dies. It just transitions.
Never died.
It just transitions from one form to another. And
Absolutely,
this is why
right.
we have so much of a problem with it.
Right.
Because we don't have an understanding from a cosmic level of how things transit. So we use a word like dying and death. No, it's an uncomfortable word, but we haven't thought of something to replace it yet. So let's just stick there.
You know what, Sleeka? You know what people have been saying for years since I was a small child, so over 70 years I've been hearing, they've gone to a better place. They don't understand because still being of a human mind or being in this place, people are sad and they're crying. And that statement that you made, that something better than the day, death is better than the day that one's birth. And then that's when the crying and weeping and the labor pains and all that comes into this. But like my niece that recently transitioned,
okay,
and she slept. She looked like she chose her place to transition.
Right.
At peace, and she had on a nightshirt that said, "Just go to sleep." And that's exactly what she did, sitting on the step, leaning against the wall, and she went to sleep.
Wow.
She never was revived.
Wow. That, I mean,
Yeah.
that is so profound. And again, it's going to relate very closely. This term sleep is because we use that as a euphemism, but it is very, very instructive because we quote unquote die every night.
Right.
And this corresponds, it just proves that internally we are designed to what? To mirror or to correspond to these cosmic cycles.
Exactly.
That life is defined in. So, a common type of black hole is the type produced by some dying stars. A star with a mass greater than 20 times, listen, the mass of our own sun may produce a black hole at the end of its life. So it's only the big stars, not the little stars. that are creators. Y'all let that sink in. Because everybody is a star. Everybody ain't no creator though. Some people, now see, have been created.
Yeah, and others emanated, huh?
That's correct. And we've identified that broadly. But again, if you do not have the element, these main elements in the prophetic framework, this will not make sense to you at all. Moving on though. In the normal life of the star, there is a constant tug of war between gravity pulling in. This is this dynamic interaction of what? Opposites, apparent opposites, and pressure pushing out. Nuclear reactions in the core of the star produce enough energy to push outward. For most of the star's life, gravity and pressure balance each other out exactly. And so the star is stable. However, when the star runs out of nuclear fuel or energy, let me ask everybody, where do we get our energy from physically?
I don't want to say the
planet, from the food, from
sun.
the planet.
Sun, solar energy.
Food. From
food. What we take in.
From eating.
Absolutely.
That's what I said. Food. Oh.
Okay.
This is very important.
Food from the earth.
Not necessarily. We're gonna find out. Not necessarily just food from the earth. Not necessarily. Nasik gave us, Nasik, you gave us the intermittent diet, or I'm sorry, the intermittent fasting, which is not a diet. Not a diet. It involves not eating. Not eating.
Okay.
And the energy that you gain from it is unbelievable.
It's exponentially greater than you. We're going to see this, family. All right? See, this makes sense to us.
It's a nourishment within you.
Look.
You feeding yourself.
Listen. Nasik gave us a fast which says stop eating.
Hey.
Gravity gets the upper hand and the material core is compressed together further. The more massive the core of the star, the greater the force of gravity that compresses the material, collapsing it under its own weight. For small stars, however, when the nuclear fuel is exhausted and there is no more nuclear reactions to fight gravity, listen, family, the repulsive forces among electrons within the star eventually create enough pressure to halt further gravitational collapse. The star then cools and dies peacefully. That's it for the smallest star. It does not create anything else because it is not a creator. This type of star is called what, y'all? A white dwarf.
Wow.
Have we already?
Called a what?
A
So
white
that's
dwarf.
the opposite of a black hole. It
A
creates
white dwarf.
White dwarf. Yep.
Now, see, have we already identified the small stars?
Wow. Yeah.
Ones that were what? Created and did not emanate, are not
Right.
eternal. Coming back to this later. When the very massive star exhausts its nuclear fuel, it explodes as a supernova. The outer parts of the star are expelled violently into space, while the core completely collapses under its own weight. Now, those pieces, again, that are expelled, they have the nature of the star. And what? They combine with other stars to do what? Turn them into black holes.
Right.
If
Right.
that is not an illustration of the dominant characteristics of
Those,
dark energy, dark matter, and melanin, I don't know what is.
Yep, you're right.
did you say those pieces are the remnants?
Yes, they are.
Okay.
To create a massive core, a progenitor, that is ancestral star. This is exactly what we've been talking about, family. Would need to be at least 20 times more massive than our sun. See, our sun, what does it affect? It affects the largest organ on the body of all humans. And this is where, now see, people get stuck on what? Pheomelanin and eumelanin. But what we're talking about is an internal aspect of dark energy and dark matter.
Yeah.
That doesn't necessarily correspond to what? Things that are internal. But we get it. We understand that it is internal. So we can make some general observations, but nothing that is absolute. If the core is very massive, approximately 2.5 times more massive than the sun, no known repulsive force inside a star can push back hard enough to prevent gravity from completely collapsing. You can't prevent the death of that star. No known force. Then the core compacts into a mathematical point with virtually zero volume, where it is said to have what? Infinite density. See, these things, now see, like Cain being in being the lineage that we're attached to and not Abel, these things are counterintuitive to the normal
Absolutely.
intelligence and the normal
Absolutely.
intellect. This is referred to as singularity. This is exactly what we've been teaching up until this point.
Okay.
When this happens, escape would require a velocity greater than the speed of light. And guess what, humans? No object, no physical object, it's impossible, can reach the speed of light. Impossible. I just got one question, Nasi. Is it saying what it's saying? Is that the science?
That's the
The distance from the black hole at which the escape velocity is equal to the speed of light is called the event horizon. Anything, including light, that passes across the event horizon toward the black hole is absorbed in that black hole and forever trapped.
Wow.
So, family, this is how it happens. The first yom was the creation of the first black hole. Then That collapsed, created something new. What came out on that other end was a new beginning. There are seven.
Right.
There are seven Yom or Yomot. I don't Yamim. Yomim or Yomot. Yomim. That we must what? Travel through. This is just one. The other is going to be totally different. I'm going to give you all another film because they showed that this passing through the black hole in this movie, The Pirates of the Caribbean, at World's End. At World's End, it was called. At the end of the world. And you're going to see the ark or the mothership that they're on. Now, upside down. Upside down and rise up. So when we travel through, family, it looks like we're going to come out upside down, correct? But we're actually going to emerge right side up. What this is talking about is not a physical transition. You have to flip the programming around. You with me, Nasi?
Eitai is called, they call up, down, down, up, bitter, sweet, sweet, bitter.
That's correct.
Yes.
That's correct. And we've all, to some degree, and for some, and for a period of time, have done that. All of us, even our leaders.
Okay.
So, yes.
This is awesome. I think we need to hold right here and let this sink in with everybody, because what we have brought forth this evening, this is actually what you would call earth-shattering. This is a reverse ritual that's taking place, and we got to understand it. Other than that, we'll be mumbling tomorrow within ourselves, with ourselves to destroy our own self. We want to give ourselves a chance.
That's fantastic. So I'm going to end it here, family, and open it up for questions and comments.